Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for signing up for the Tech Leadership webinar series. The topic today is Robotic Process Automation, the Technology Landscape and Career Opportunities. And we have with us Chandni, Sahgal, the Strategic Consultant, and Manojkumar Nagaraj, who is the co-founder and CEO of RPASoft. We will get started, and to begin with, I will spend some time talking about women who code, and then come to a moderated discussion with Chandni and Manoj. So Women Who Code, as you see, is a community of women in technology. Our mission is to inspire women to excel in technology careers. And we envision a world where diverse women are better represented as engineers and tech leaders. Women Who Code is an inclusive community with a defined code of conduct, which can be found in our website, www.womenwhocode.com, and to read the full version and access our incident report at womenwhocode.com/code of conduct. Anyone can sign up for Women Who Code Hyderabad, a community. So we have 6 chapters in India and in Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, etc. So we are a recently started chapter in 2021, and we have grown our community to more than 1,000 with all the great participation from in companies as well as the technology individuals like us. Impact we want to create is to upskill, cross-skill, get women back to a work program, and provide the technical mentoring and provide hands-on coding experience, support and mentor women in early technology careers, provide exposure to a wide spectrum of opportunities, scholarships, hackathons, etc. We have 3 directors on board and Women Who Code in Hyderabad. Myself, Dr. Renu Rajani, we have Saraswati Narayan, and we also have Vani Jolly from Salesforce. On September 30th, we launched a RISE program called expanded as Reboot, Invest, Scale, and Empower Yourself. And this program, actually, we have created 4 tracks, Java, .NET, testing, and data science. We have got some participants already. We are looking at the batch, and we will be starting it in a week or 2 very soon. So that's where we are. Anyone for this program can be referred to us. Our team is what defines our community. We are a new team here in Hyderabad, and our focus is on technology, innovation, and leadership. The various tracks that you see relate to front-end, mobile technology, Python, blockchain, cloud, and data science. And today what you're seeing is like panels, fireside chats, and lightning talks. So this is a panel we are running on robotic process automation. Talking about some of the key events in Women Who Code, we had Connect Forward. We have upcoming event Connect Forward, November 18 to 19. This is posted on our portal of Women Who Code Hyderabad chapter. Please do sign up for it. Women Who Code completed global virtual annual event Connect Reimagine 2021 during June 10 to 11. Some of us from India participated. And this is the event Women Who Code Connect India 2021 is sponsored by VMware, which was held on August 27 and September 3rd. And here a number of us have been on the panel, organizers, etc. So this just recently concluded. Women Who Code recently completed 290,000 members worldwide. Code review is one of the key section for Women Who Code. Not just a global community, Women Who Code resources can be accessed anywhere in the world. We have a very thriving Slack channel, which has for Hyderabad chapter itself, some 120 plus volunteers. So all this you see happening is thanks to a great community that we have. So without any delay, I will get started with the discussion today. So first of all, Chandni and Manoj, thank you for being there in the discussion today. My association with Manoj goes way back from what, 2015 or so, Manoj, right?
Yes, ma'am.
He was like returned from the US, was working with TechM at that time, and I kind of encouraged him to join Capgemini and have had great association having him in my team. And now entrepreneurial bug bit him and at time, and he has ventured out into this new enterprise. He'll talk about that. And Chandni does consulting for so many companies. She has her own consulting outfit, and she saw it very rewarding to be an advisor to Manoj's RPASoft. So with that, Chandni, I spoke about what attracted you. I would like to hear, very quickly a story. What is the potential you see in this area? What has attracted you here?
Manoj introduced me to the business verticals that he's trying to address, and I have played an active role for more than 25 years with TIE. I have been one of the founding members, and I've been on the board for TIE for several years, and I've seen spaces grow. And when I heard Manoj talked about how he's trying to use RPA in the COVID-linked healthcare applications, I thought this has several more. And at TIE, we've seen some other applications of bots. I also consult for fintech area, where now BFSI is big there, and I've seen the application of bots. I went some time back, I taught at Startup Leadership Program in Boston, and I also underwent the same course parallelly. And there, one of my batchmates was another cohort who spent a lot of time building robots, physical robots in India, and then later moved to RPA. So there were several dots that connected. Manoj and I go back several years, where he had another entrepreneurial venture where I was one of the advisors. So he connected with me, and then it was like homecoming, and there was an instant need to feel that we can grow his business large in this space. So that's how I have come into the RPA fold, and I think Manoj has been singularly responsible.
Well, that's so nice to hear. And later in the we'll surely hear your thoughts about what you see as a key opportunity in this space. Thank you for accepting, and thank you for being there. I will quickly. Sorry.
I said it is my privilege to connect with so many accomplished techies. Currently, I sit on the board of a very largish fintech company as well, and we're thinking that our next growth areas in that company are going to come by applications coming out of RPA space. I come from BITS Pilani, which is I went to Pilani in 1977. Not too many women went to an engineering institute at that time. The hostel had 110 rooms, but there were 60 occupants. So we could have 2 rooms each if we wanted. Now, when you go back, there are more than 1,000 girls there. So I think that women have made a big mark in the tech field, and we were the early plodders. We were just 11 girls in a class of 450 boys. Just to give you a thing. So when you come out of Pilani, Pilani doesn't go out of you. It's BITS is it's an institute on the forefront of technology even today. And I think the bug started there. So it just keeps growing bigger and different. And for this bug, I think I have to thank Manoj.
Thank you. Thanks for accepting to be on our board, Chandni.
No.
Yeah, now Manoj begins. Now, Chandni, the reason I asked you to speak is because I know once I start with Manoj, he will not stop. So okay. Let's get started then.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Renu. Thank you so much. First of all, giving us this opportunity and a platform to share our experience along with Chandni, who's our board of advisor and my business mentor. And it is certainly a great pleasure, and it's a great pleasure to speak to you again, talk to you again. And if you ask me what inspired me, probably if there is one person that I admire and I respect the most is probably you, because it is not just the academic part, it is not just the professional part, it's not just the personal part. You just look at any aspects of in a personal life, I think you are there and you are set a benchmark for me. So every time I said, I'm slowing down, I think of you. So if you ask me that who inspires me the most from an energy perspective, that is you, Renu. And I want to thank you for that and for mentoring me before I started this venture. Okay, so coming to your questions, what attracted me to RPASoft? And before I started this venture, I was heading the Center of Excellence for testing with a focus on next generation technology, which includes all the flavors we're talking about, such as the artificial intelligence, machine learning, which has become a standard buzzword today, and robotic process automations, cloud. And so there are a lot of what's being spun around. It's called SMAC, social media, mobile analytics, cloud, and the IoT. So all these are different levers, what I would say, which anchors any digital transformation solution today. And I was fortunate to have a role that I could apply all those levers and create next generation accelerators primarily in the testing world for the North America business. So fortunate to have a very good team, talented team, and we were able to do some great work with some of the great brands like McDonald's, Subway, GE, so on and so forth. And so what inspired me about this technology is some of the work what we did for GE, and not to digress from this topic, when I graduated from engineering back in 1991, and coincidentally, my engineering project was on robotics, where I built a physical robot. And it so happened after 30 years, and I was getting connected to a software robot. So personally, for me, the life has come to full circle, starting from a career with building a physical robots to software robots, and which is very rewarding and very exciting about this technology. So primarily, there are, I would say, a couple of things that excite me. One is the potential what this technology has, and we are just at the tip of the iceberg, I would say. And in terms of the versatility and the non-intrusiveness of this technology and what it can do. So, and there is no limit to in terms of the use cases that you can find. And as long as you understand the power of these technologies and the need of the business problem, as long as you're able to align, you can create a fantastic use cases here. And so some of the work what we did at GE attracted me, and I thought we could do more. And looking at the the potential what this technology has, and starting from 2021 until 2025, and I think as we see this business is going to grow, I would say about fivefold. And this year, I think the entire RPA market worldwide will close to about $1.5 billion, including all the software vendors today. And I think it's going to grow up to $5 billion plus in 2025. So you're looking at about 500x. And certainly, it has been an exciting journey since we started our business here. And frankly speaking, I would suggest as part of your women back to work program, you should include RPA also, because today demand outstrips the supplier. And it is not uncommon for a good RPA developer today having at least about 3 to 4 different offers. And at times it has created challenges for us. Okay, that's a different topic. But the point I'm trying to make here is for the next 4 to 5 years, and there'll be hundreds of, I would say maybe the total hiring would definitely exceed 100,000 plus, worldwide. I would say more than 50% of that hiring will definitely happen in India. And India is an epicenter for RPA talent. Whether you take any products, whether it's a UiPath, audit automation anywhere, 50% of the global workforce is operating from India, providing the product development support, platform support, as well as the delivery support. So I think, so I cannot emphasize enough. I think we are at the right time, right place. And I would be really happy to provide any support for back to work program. And so if you give us an opportunity, we are more than happy to try and help those people who want to get back to the RP career here. So as you can see, I think we are looking at about 40.6% CAGR, fantastic growth in any enterprise software segment what we see today. And so that is the reason why you can see the valuations of companies like UiPath on the price to earning is close to about 20 plus X, which is unheard of in the today's industry. So that shows what how the industry is betting on it, the future of this technology, and we are ready to see the best. So I would encourage people, your family and friends who are looking for a career. I think RPA is definitely one of the best choice in my opinion. I think you can go to the next slide.
Hey, Manoj, so
Sure.
I'm just in a mood to crack a bit of joke.
Sure, ma'am.
So 30 years back, you were like doing some robot.
Yes.
And today, and I've seen your journey, and I'm just wondering if any robot could get better than you. Maybe we'll discuss that.
No, actually, I was just a bit nostalgic. I know whether it is a, I heard about this robotics in 2000, I would say, probably 13, 14. I was doing management consulting with Tech Mahindra. I think my managers called me into his office. Hey, I heard something called robotics. Can you see what it can do for us? And see if it can help us in testing. So I thought, I was a bit stunned. How can robots do in testing, right? And first of all, I was very new to this technology. And so as soon as I got this opportunity when I started my career in Capgemini, and we started thinking about it and getting into it. So it is certainly a fascinating technology, and the technology does have evolved. And today we are living in an era called robotics 4.0, which started with 1.2 several years ago, right? And automation is not a new term today, but it has evolved with a plain vanilla, automation like writing some batch programs, scripting, and all the way to self-learning, self-healing type of technology what we have today. So the more technology and power it has, more use cases it is attracting, and that is primarily the reason why the market is betting on this technology. And the kind of projection what you're seeing, I think we could exceed that as well, in my opinion. So so to answer your question, Reno, I think I myself got fascinated, right? I had a chance to play with that, and I think we were building robots for, I think it was a Rifle Factory of India. It was Trichy. And also I did some work for, Kirloskar Oil Limited. And it was called as a gantry robot. It was state of the art at that time. And afterwards, I didn't do much on the mechanical, and I got into business software. But after 25, years in the industry, man, I got an opportunity to work on robotics again. So suddenly, it was for me. It is personally, I would say, career-wise, life has come to a full circle from a physical robot to software robot for sure, and it has been definitely an exciting for me.
Manoj, I was just about to ask the key players, and I see, regardless of the size and being a startup, you as an individual are certainly, you have the knowledge of the entire industry, not just the bots, but physical robots as well. So who are the key players now?
So I have articulated some. I think there are the fact that you can see, the top 10 is what we have seeing on the slides here. But if you look at the latest figures, says close to about 200 RPA product vendors around the world. So what we have put out is only about 10. And the fact that, the 10 and their numbers are going up to 200, that speaks there's enough opportunity in the space. And so the top 3 is what I would say they have taken probably more than 51% of the market share. And rest of the market is kind of split between the rest of them. And the top 3 is what we are partnered with. And I think probably our strongest partnership is on the UiPath, then the automation anywhere, though we have a limited exposure to Blue Prism for now. And the way we are picking up these products primarily on a couple of the key parameters. One is obviously the brand, the reach, and also the key thing is the support, what they provide during the pre-sales phase. And so those 3 are the factors why we picked up the top 3. And I call RPASoft is like a brand factory of all the RPA brands. So we are very picky in terms of choosing the right brand so that we can align with the right market and address the right opportunity in the right vertical. And so apart from the top 3, we also partner with companies like Evo. Evo is another startup brand from India, and they're primarily focused on low-code automation solution, primarily for a software test automation, which is an exciting technology what we saw, and we decided to partner with them. Another product is called IntelliBuddies. IntelliBuddies is not listed. I think they're starting their go-to-market activities very soon. So I've been associated with the IntelliBuddies for a long time, mostly on the advisor side. And so they're certainly a value for money, in my opinion. And while UiPath is positioned at the enterprise level, especially primarily for the SMB segment, at least in India, I think IntelliBuddies would do a great job. So, and we are not limiting ourselves to this 5-6 brands we always keep our options open. Another product I would like to talk about is Jakarta. Great story. I think they are one of the few startups from India who graduated and went to California. So they are specialized in big data, and not many software vendors out there do the process automations on the big data, but Jacquard is one such a product that stands out. So the different brands have a different value proposition. They are holding a different position in the market, and the good news is all of them have a great business, which means the market is still ripe, and there is still opportunity for many more to come in.
So Manoj, we discussed a lot of vendors here.
Yeah,
it'll be good to hear the services play as well. You want to
sure.
cover it now, or?
Definitely. No, I would like to cover it. Thanks. So all these products, what we see, at least the top 10, in my opinion, there I would say horizontals. So the definition of horizontal is they don't specialize in any of the domain per se, but they specialize in certain technology. Like at least the top 3 are all horizontal. They fight neck to neck in terms of the features, in terms of their AI machine learning capabilities, in terms of some of the cool things they do with the document understanding, and the way they provide all the office automations and non-office automation, whatnot. So those are what I said. These are like technology level horizontals, and where you need to develop solutions at top of it. In RPASoft, what we have done is we have not only partnered with these three-way developed customized solutions, and we have developed our own platforms on certain domain area. For example, we already got into what I call as a HR tech, and where we are launching platforms of our own, primarily for lab automation. In specific, we started our journey with the COVID labs, and we have launched a brand called Cobot, primarily to help the COVID testing labs to extract their COVID testing reports, validate it, and upload to ICMR website automatically. And so this is something we did during the pandemic to one of the government hospitals. And we did this as a CSR initiatives because we really wanted to help that lab. And being government lab, they didn't have many resources. And so they had a lot of this data entry operators sitting in the COVID labs doing the data entry in the middle of the night. And unfortunately, because of the volume of test cases, they got exposed and some of them did not survive. And so the hospital, the head of the hospital, doctors, how does can technology help a solution? Because the ICMR SLA is about 2 hours, right from the time you have a testing done, it has to be uploaded. But they were not able to meet the SLAs. They were penalized, and they were not getting enough hands. And people who are coming to lab, they were getting exposed. It's a very tricky situations. So we were, our partner stepped in, we stepped in. We treated as a CSR initiative, and we'll develop these bots where it could just mimic the entire the human behaviors of the data entry operators. And it did fantastic job in terms of reading, validating, uploading the ICMR website automatically. And the good news is they were running in 3 shifts. And so they were able to not only meet the SLAs, but they were also increase the productivity by 400%. Because this lab was also getting the demand from the local primary health center, which did not have a facility to upload. So the volume was high, and we were able to help. And we feel very, it was one of the satisfying initiatives that we took. And we were very fortunate that it really helped and saved lives during the pandemic. So that is one example how we have developed the platform in the domain centric. Second is what I call HR tech. Today, because of the demand, the recruitment is probably one of the key in any organization today because of the volume of hiring. And the key activities in the recruitment happens to be the, finding the right people, going to different platforms. It could be the LinkedIn part, Naukri part, or you have hundreds of resumes being applied to your, job portals. So it is certainly a, very laborious task to go through this, sift all those things, finding the right match so that your recruiters can spend the time effectively and smartly rather. So today we have developed a platform called RI Bot, stands for Recruit Intelligent, where all your sourcing activities are automated. So bots are trained, and based on the job descriptions, it can extract your profiles from your emails. It can look at based on the the JDs. It does a keyword matching, and it will say, and it will rank based on the relevancy, most relevant, less relevant, and create a priority list and send those lists to the recruiters and say, here is all what you should look at it. So in our organization, when the recruiters are sleeping, the bots are working. So we work 24/7, and we are able to, the latest metric says 300 profiles are scanned under 20 minutes in our organization today. And it is one of the success stories we have. Another thing, what we have done is we have created what is called specialized bots. So Naukri has been one of the leading job portal. And now we have a bot called NR Bots, which is specialized only in Naukri platform. It goes to the Naukri, you give a JD, it will log in, it picks up, it proactively does a focus search, sends an email, pick up the responses. It does all those things. So when a recruiter comes in the morning, he has a list of people that he can talk to. So with the combination of specialized bots on LinkedIn and platform and our internal, we have a suite of RA bots that drives the platform for HR industry today. So these are some of the examples what I can quote as of now. To answer your questions, yes, RPASoft is a combination of a platform play and a services play on the horizontal way.
So Manoj, I would kind of I just feel that what I felt 5-6 years back, that Manoj's mind runs ahead of me. You see that I was coming to the question, typical use cases. You already provided 2 great ones. One is the HR bots and another was your CSR support for the ICMR. So that's all great. Do you want to talk quickly landscape of all these use cases? Where all is RPA being applied, typical architecture. So can we get into a bit of detail on that, Manoj?
Definitely, Renu. So I think this is what I would say a bird view, if I may, regarding the art of possibilities in terms of what one can do with an RPA technology, right? So maybe let me start from the right. So probably RPASoft is one of the only 3 companies that UiPath has rated who have the capabilities and competency to use robots in software testing. We're very proud of that. So, and when we started this journey, people challenged us, RPA is created only for process automation and not for testing, not for platform. We disproved that myth, and we proved that RPA could be a challenger to in today's existing traditional test automation tools out there. Okay, so so right from your business process automation, test process automations, document understanding, where given any documents, you can extract, read, and massage the data, orchestrate the data. And also one of the key things I think I'm going to talk about in one of our architecture is what I call as the hybrid automation that we created, wherein you can orchestrate a traditional automation tool along with your a bot automation tool to drive your coverage. Okay, this is some of the creative things you can do with RPA today, which was not possible in several years ago. And also audits, right? And today quality audits is a very important one, especially for the large enterprises where they have tens and thousands of test cases being written, managed, and it is humanly impossible to get into this test management tools, look at the quality of a test case being written and uploaded. So this auditing, what I call the inspection work, becomes a very natural use case for RPA to get in and automate that part. Compliance is another great use case, I would say, whether it is on the infra level compliances that could be related to your hardware, or it could be data related compliances, especially in the the fintech world. So, and especially if you're in the the mortgage industry, providing services to North America, you have many compliances from the data perspective, just like a Dodd-Frank Act. And also if you're working for European customers, you have GDPR. So all this compliance has to be in real time. We had to adhere to this, compliances all the time. And so this auditing proactively in a non-intrusive way and sending those alerts, I think it becomes a natural choice for, for the RPA to leverage there. And also from the end-to-end, we have, from a test automation architecture strategy perspective, you have this platform and you have this function layer, then you have this end-to-end process layer. So this end-to-end process layer completely can be dedicated to parts because you cut across different technologies and platforms. And since it is a user-centric testing, so obviously, and from a consumerization perspective, right from all the way from your front to back, it becomes a very natural choice. It does a great job by, driving all these automation flows from the end to end. So that is one area that RPA can be looked at. And second thing is that this is a classic test automation space, functional test automation, whether it is a web or non-web. We have proved that it does. It provides a great alternative not only for Seleniums of the world, and UFTs of the world, and much beyond that as well. And test data is another very creative use cases. Somebody can look at it. It doesn't have to be a CI test data management tools, or it doesn't have to be Informatica. It doesn't have to be one of those expensive tools out there. And you can create a look at and even RPA to create the test data and align with the test cases that you are trying to execute. And it doesn't have to be for the entire test, the backup test cases. And so that is one area we have had success. And the platform specific automation, this is in my opinion is a great area for, because all these things are template driven, whether it is a Workday or SAP, Oracle, all these platforms have this templatized workflows. And wherever there's a templatized workflows all there, and RPA does a great job. And the last but not the least is visual automations. And this is another great area, and where today's, if you want to do your testing from a coverage perspective, there is a limitation of the testing tools. They stick to only functional automation. But if additional, requirement from validations, like you had to, visually you had to compare, as part of your overall test automation coverage, traditional automation tools do not support. So it has to be a mix of RPA plus traditional automation tools combined together will get you that end-to-end coverage. That is another great example from a use case perspective. So again, these are not just, I'm not limiting, these are the use cases, but once you have an appreciation of technologies and understand what it can do, certainly more creative use cases can be looked at. But these are some of the common use cases that we have experienced and we are working with the customer. So I will, to answer your question, Renu, I'm going to touch base a couple of architecture here. So not to get too deep, so I'll try my best to see how we can put all these pieces together. So the first one is what I call the hybrid automation that I just talked about it. So all of us are familiar with the creating DevOps testing pipeline who are in the test automation space. So this pipeline where we do the orchestration, traditionally it is only the functional test automation scripts only, right? I mean, if you have a web that needs to be tested, you have written scripts in Selenium, you deploy it in the pipeline, you orchestrate it, and from a QA automation perspective, and you said, I'm done. But however, your coverage is limited to the platform that you've written the scripts, number one. But at times, I'm sure you can relate to me, when given any test automation, it is not just a platform, it is also other surrounding activities or the process that feeds into it. That also needs to be looked at it, okay? So what this RPA can do is you can look at not just the platform where the script has to be run and executed and drive the automation, but also other dependent and supporting activity that feeds into it. Those activities can also be automated, right? So, all this, there is a process play, there's a platform play. You can combine these two, deploy it in the pipeline and drive your coverage. That is what we call as a concept of hybrid automation. As an example, what we have put out here, if you look at the continuous testing pipeline, it has two different components. The UiPath is a platform what we picked up just from a architecture concept perspective here that will take care of your process part. And robot framework is one example what we can look at it, where we take care of the platform part. So in the continuous testing plan, if you add up these two, the UiPath and the robot together, you can drive your broader coverage beyond the platform end-to-end wise, which otherwise would not have been possible today. So that is one example creatively, which is very much, this architecture is very much in demand today, potentially because of the RPA. And maybe I would like to talk about the next one. Okay, so
sorry.
Yes, so the next architecture here is the what we call as a visual automation, which is very popular today. Primarily, if you're an insurance domain, where you are trying to validate the policies. So if you have a policy in your hand, it has the textual content, it has the image content, it has the logos from the company that is issuing the policy. So at time, if you want to validate, you're generating, thousands of policies documents in a month. If you want to make sure that your derived content from your system, which feeds into your the policy document, make sure that they're aligned. So at times, so you had to, kind of match. I'm just giving one example. Take a policy in the left hand and take your the content that is in the system, the right hand, and start stitching those, validating those pieces together, the textual content part, the image content part. So it becomes very laborious. But if you can use a technology like RPA, it reads the entire document like one image with all the text plus images together. So either you can break it down by text, or you can just treat like one holistic images and do a image to image comparison. So we had a chance to work with many insurance companies leveraging this. So visual automation is something is a new validations that is possible outside of your functional validation that can be looked at. So technically what we're looking from a coverage perspective, looking at the overall automation architecture, your functional validation, which we're all familiar, your process validation, which can be addressed by your RPA, your visual, the automation that can also be supported by RPA today. I know there are some competing tools like API tools and other things, but the RPA can support both. So with a combination of your process plus image and functional, you got your right coverage right there. So that is one of the reasons why I say this architecture doesn't make sense. So this is one of the probably where we got a lot of good name which we call a cobot, or the architect solution for what we're looking at here. And where this, right from the COVID labs, you get the raw report. And based on what ICMO requires, we do all the validation to make sure there are no gaps here. And if there are any gaps, we create the exceptions that goes to the stakeholders of the lab. And then all these robots, then it will open the ICMO, the website. It will check whether it's a retest or a fresh test. If it is a fresh test, it starts filling up all the right data. And if there are any exceptions, it will send the exception to the right stakeholders. If it is a retest, it looks for a certain data, which is mandatory, non-mandatory. So bot is trying to look at this. So you can look at about 5 to 6 type of records is easily entered by a bot today. And if you look at the manual, at times, based on the complexity, it takes between 3 to 4 minutes. So this is one example how creatively you can look at using bots as a solution there. Coming to this screening automation, I kind of touched base a little bit earlier in my conversation. And this is one of the platform what we created, RpaPods, and where you go after all the recruitment screening automation here. And the last one is what we call as the end-to-end business flow automation, right? So, and so potentially, every time I have a conversation with the customer, the first question, as Renu articulated, what are the use cases that we can look at it? I say, if you can give me an opportunity, look at your front office, middle office, and back office, I'm sure we can help you with come up many use cases where there's a lot of manual interventions and which are, mundane, labor oriented, and which may not be adding a lot of value to your workforce. All those are potential use cases that can be delegated to bots. So here is one example, where, maybe it's an e-commerce applications where you're trying to place an order from the front office, and those requests are getting in and being, pushed into SAP for fulfillment. And maybe when from the fulfillment, it goes to your, let's say a backend for your validations. So in every one of these cases, there is a platform which is supporting the business process. And this platform is an application that is running it. And all this, applications can be looked at from an automation perspective. One is within the platform we can do, across the platform also we can do. Within the platform, you can call this as a FO, MO, and, we'll say back office bots. And across, we can call it as an end-to-end flow bots. So that is the beauty of this technology. And I just made one word called non-intrusive, which is very important for all of you to listen to that. So definition of non-intrusive solution is you don't need to have a special plumbing created between the platform, the solution for the robots to work. It can work on any platform and without any, hard coding the plugins there. So that's the beauty of this technology. And another advantage of RPA, not to bias towards the testing or test automation today, most of the customers, I'm sure you're all, agree with me. It is not the cost of, it is not the automation, the cost of automation is also being looked at. So with the advent of digital transformations, the tech stack keep increasing day by day. With IoTs and with analytics solutions and the other medias and the enterprise stack. So obviously there's not one automation tool that solves all the automation of all the tech stacks. So what you do is you end up investing in different automation tools for different technical stacks here. So obviously, well, you can get your automation done with a lot of efforts, but the cost of automation goes to the roof. So now the people are talking about tool harmonization here. So can I have one or two tools that will help me with automation across multiple platforms versus a platform? For a use case like that, for a requirement like this, RP certainly does a great job. Okay. So with that, I would like to probably, this is a couple of architecture I thought would make sense for the technical audience here, and hopefully it was helpful.
So Manoj, thanks for covering a wide spectrum of use cases and typical architectures. I think one slide which I missed was about the roles itself. So if you can delve a bit on that, then we can get into the implementation lifecycle and careers.
Okay, thank you. So we are all familiar with the word STLC, which stands for Software Testing Lifecycle. We're all familiar with SDLC, which stands for Software Development Lifecycle. With the advent of RPA, now we have what is called RDLC, RPA Development Lifecycle. In the context of RDLC, there are a couple of roles which are important, and I'm sure we can all relate to our traditional SDLC and SDLC as well. So I would start with the delivery managers, which is very similar to the project managers in the traditional world, who oversees the complete RPA solution development, deployment, and the governance aspects of it, monitoring aspects of it, and also that is on the technology side, and also other typical PM type of role on the cost, budget, effort, and stakeholder and customer management, and so on. So obviously all projects should have a delivery manager. So from a career perspective, people who are traditionally good at project management and roles with Agile, Scrum certifications, I think with a bit of learning on the RPA, and maybe you can go through one or two end-to-end lifecycle implementations. I think certainly this is the role that somebody could look at it, and there's a lot of demand for the RPA delivery managers today. That's number one. Number two, business analysts. What do they do? Business analysts, very similar to the traditional requirement analysis, talking to the customer, getting the requirement out, creating those requirement management documents that will feed into the downstream artifacts. This is no different. The only thing is, in the business analyst, the traditional artifacts being created is what we call as PDD, stands for process definition document. Basically, it captures the as is requirement, what the customer wants for a given process, and what is the to be means, how this process needs to be automated, and what is the expected benefits that gets out of it. So this basically to sit with the customer, going through understanding the process side of it and opportunity for automation, creating those artifacts is probably the primary role of a business analyst. And as again, and the traditional businesses can weave themselves into this role. And I think we are desperately looking for very good business analysts as we speak today. And so third part, now we talked about the project managers. Now we call as RPA delivery managers. We talked about business analysts. Now let's talk about developers. Developers, they are completely, heads down, in terms of creating those solution documents we call SDD, very similar to your, low-level definition, high-level definition, documents in the traditional SDLC world. These people also create, SDD, which we call solution design documents in with the PDD as an input. And with that as the design document, they start getting to the coding and do all their unit testing. So that is the definition of a developer. So coming to tester will not do the unit testing, but they'll do the functional testing, which is similar to the traditional test automation role. So now RPA test itself is becoming a separate practice, primarily because of the lot of a demand for testing it very thoroughly in a very structured way, which is one of the gap we saw. But now we are trying to fill that gap. Now there is a lot of demand for people, just like traditional QA engineers. There is a new role called RPA testers, who are responsible for testing any solutions using the traditional. It could be Jenkins, it could be your GitHubs, and so on and so forth. And the last but not the least is the solution architect. What is the job of solution architect here? His job is to two things. One is it's definitely a client-facing role, and it's a completely top-down role, meaning he gets engaged at the early on in the life cycle. And if the customer is not sure about which products to go, and he does a bit of consulting in terms of aligning the selected platform features to the problem that needs to the process that needs to be automated. So I would say tool strategy, tool recommendations, and a bit of feasibility analysis from the whether that selected tool is a right tool, is the most optimized tool for the problem that we need to solve. And also and is also a specialist in the platform. Whether it is if you select UiPath as a platform choice, or automation, anywhere as a platform choice, he's supposed to be a deemed expert in that platform, who brings in the platform, expertise, platform features, and to guide the implementation team, but also provide overall architectural implementation in terms of, weaving these platform features into the process that could be automated. So this is what we call as a delivery pyramid for any typical RPA project development arena.
Hey, Manoj, thanks. Actually, a bit short on time, so I would like to quickly rush through one or two topics. Implementation lifecycle timelines and the ROI, and then we'll get into the skill. Right?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Sure. So typically, and every time, so obviously, one of the questions being asked is, hey, here is the list of process I have. What would it cost, right? I mean, that is a typical questions we get from a customer. It's just like every time, just on a lighter side, every time I buy a car, we have a tendency to ask, what is the mileage? So this conversation is no different, and the customer will say, hey, what would it cost? So the way we approach that typical question is, what is the complexity of the process? How complex is your process for us to automate? Then the question comes is, how do I arrive at a complexity definition? what is the definition of complexity here? Okay, so the couple of points that will help us to arrive at the complexity definitions are how many number of screens we need to automate, what are the different types, how many steps are there in each screens to automate, and how many integration points are there. I mean, this process touches SAP, it touches CRM, touches many of the backend systems. The more integration point it touches, the more complex it becomes. And at times, maybe a traditional automation, features may not work. We may have to build some custom algorithm on top of it to drive your automation. Obviously, the concept complexity goes through. This was some of the dimensions that we incorporate to assess the complexity. Why the complexity definition is important? That complexity definition will drive our timelines. So typically, a simple process automation, right from process discovery to deployment, we're looking at about 4 to 6 weeks, a medium between 8 to 10 weeks, and a complexity between 12 to 14 weeks. This is again the standard industry guidelines, and based on the complexity definition that we just talked about. From the ROI perspective, I would like to keep it very short here in the interest of time. So ROI, I think we should look at not just the execution time from a process automation perspective. We should look at the end-to-end life cycle of the process. Okay, so what I mean by this is I'll just take an example. Let's say if you're trying to execute, let's say 400 cases, test cases of Selenium in a platform. And so you cannot say I'll replace RP and see what the ROI is. No. So to not execute that 400 test case in a platform, you need to look at other supporting processes as well. And what is the input for that? And what are the dependencies? What are the constraints? What is the test data that feeds into the process? And after doing the executions, how are the stakeholders reports are created? How are the reports are disseminated, rather broadcasted to the stakeholders there, and what is the end-to-end life cycle, and from the using the manual path or the current, and look at how the process platform delegated to bots, and what is the end time. So that is typically what I would suggest. So not to be biased in the platform to platform alone. That is one important point. And second important point is the you're taking into account the overall cycle time, and also the frequency of the usage of the process. And typically one of the criteria we would suggest to customers, make sure it is the process what you trying to automate, it should be used very frequently so that your ROI is higher, not once or a couple of times in a year. So the usage should be high, the frequency should be high manual intervention from a coverage perspective. And this is what we call as a qualification for a process automation is also very important from a ROI perspective. And also the last but not the least is the input cost. And you take all your platform costs and your human effort cost that goes baked into the development of the cost versus the the savings that you get based on the overall cycle time. And that is what you need to reconcile for your ROI analysis. So typically the industry standard is if your RPA solution can deliver about 40% saving within 9 months, I think that's a good business case.
Great, Manoj. I will skip this question about risk right now, considering time. And hope you are still there, Chandni. We are looking for you. Hi, Chandni.
She's on mute.
Yeah, I knew that we had to listen to Manoj so attentively that everybody was listening fully, tuned in. So Chandni, I think you have been very strong advocate about automation, women in technology, bring women back to work. You just narrated that as part of your passion areas. How do you see skill and hiring outlook, and what is you see promising in this field? So over to you for this.
So the first thing I see is that the adoption of RPA is happening very rapidly. The curve is exponential. And therefore, there are two things you need. You need mass, well-skilled, high learners to come into this fold. And that's not going to be easy. So therefore, it offers a great opportunity for women who are looking this as a re-entry point to re-enter, because you have to upskill, you have to add certifications, you have to have a knowledge of some verticals, and therefore it offers a good entry point for women who've dropped off or people who want to upskill and get into a niche area to ride the wave of a long career. So when SaaS was coming in, earlier, or other methods of technology were coming in. So much so, as simple as Y2K. The Indian companies like TCS and Infosys, who've now become bellwether giants and behemoths, came up from mass hiring and bringing in people who needed to enter the wave of technology for something as simple as Y2K. But this is niche. It doesn't need too much upskilling. It needs some upskilling, but it needs a state of mind. But I think women are good learners. They're very eager to come back. Most of them are very eager to join a workforce. And the other thing is that this is happening across geographies. And because it is happening across geographies, and India is not too much behind, and it's attracted a lot of MNCs who are clients and MNCs who are delivery people. So it's going to enable women or even any other learner to join this wave, work from any part of the world. Because there's a lot of standardization and through certifications. And I feel that there are going to be more and more certification companies who are going to enter. So providing more and more opportunity. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that it is allowing for women to work from home or work from any geography. And that is a major, major opportunity. In the past 2 years, remote working is the new normal. Just to take a little anecdote, about 10 years ago, I did my first roadshow in the Silicon Valley, along with TIE. And I had some friends who were working with large organizations. And I would find it very strange that, they work in Seattle with Google or Microsoft, and they live in San Diego, and they have large homes out there. And, once in 6 weeks, he goes for a meeting. And, how does he manage life like that? Even though I was working with India with large organizations or small organizations or startups or techies, this was not the new normal. But technology and mindsets have both made geography as history. And what's going to fuel this movement is that more and more people are being able to join this movement because geography has become history. And that is going to work in the favor of women in every which way. Whether it means being at home, whether it means reduced costs of care, baby care, family care, senior care, health aspects, looking after yourself better, whatever. You name it, and there'll be several drivers that are hidden with this fold. So my recommendation to RPA companies like and RPA providers and platforms like what Manoj is trying to create is to open opportunities for people who want to join in now. And I can't overemphasize anymore the role of analysts who come from, so for example, some women who, let's say, are working in the fashion industry or healthcare or retail or BFSI. I work somewhat with BSI FinTech. They will have a lot of insights to provide to programmers and the technical developers and project managers and team leads with the knowledge warehouse that they're carrying. All what they need is just a little nudge to go past that certification. And like Manoj showed, the list of key players there, the several players, the deep rung players who are going to enable it. So I am saying between now and the next 18 months, there lies a vast pool of opportunity. The other thing is that, in our earlier days, people would go and work on site. So India was a great provider of capabilities and skill sets through projects or people through on-site development. So I came from an institute called BITS Pilani, and literally, Tata Unix, which has now become TCS or through different paths, or Unix India or Infi or Wipro. This is the early 80s. They were just starting. They would just come and put a truck there, and you just have to climb the truck. In the virtual sense, and you just join the bandwagon, and you would be in Rotterdam or Atlanta, and a lot of my batchmates would want to join it for the adventure of getting a opportunity to work abroad. And here I'm saying that you're going to get this opportunity one more time in that big way. The only difference is that it's going to be virtual. So, just think the opportunity you're going to get. It's just think of how it is going to monetize for women. It's a rare opportunity, I would say. There's this, all the coordinates have come to the same quadrant, and that doesn't happen too often. Yeah. So I'm encouraging. So one of the things I keep telling Manoj is that if you can't hire the best of talent now, and especially returning women, you can't ever do it again. It's a rare one, and I would encourage a lot of you to consider this seriously and look at coming to contribute in this area, build your career, float with the wave, and make the most out of it. I think you can probably run a little bit of a guidance program through Manoj's organization and Renu's organization to help women find a way to enter the RPA movement. I don't know if that's possible, Renu.
Very much, Chandni, and it is such a wonderful thought, and it's very enlightening and encouraging to hear you, because you have progressed in the industry from very old time TIE days, where from thinking of an entrepreneurial organization to forming of TIE, which has the wings across the world. We are blessed to have you here today and hear you in this manner.
I would just like to end with just a 5-second or a 10-second introduction. And some of the things I didn't tell you in the introduction is that there are more than 15 or 16 firsts that I have been involved in. And one of them is the launch of, I was the startup founding MD, a co-founder of MTV India. Prior to that, I brought Times FM to India, the first FM radio, first MTV, then TIE. I worked with certain healthcare startups, the first transdermal patch for no artists, 15 years with healthcare, auto, EVs, some of the first inroads into EV that India made, electric vehicles through battery rickshaws. And I must tell you proudly that even today, India is the single largest carrier of human beings on e-rickshaws. More than 3 crore people use an e-rickshaw every day. And there's it's just a little less written about. So we know more about Elon Musk and Tesla than we know about the number of people Indians carry. And the first project on that was done by us truly. So I've been involved with a lot of us, and I don't want to waste too much time on it. There's a few that I shared with. And because I could see certain waves at that time, this is another wave I can see. And I'm just encouraging women to get enrolled and join the wave and ride the wave. And that's all what I have to say. Thank you.
That's great, Chandni. Thank you. And Manoj and Chandni, both, there are questions for you. But before I let you take questions, we have my two co-directors, Saraswati Narayan and Bani Leen Korjoli here. Saraswati from Bank of America and Bani from Salesforce. All three of us nicely, every day busy in something or other relating to women who code apart from our daily jobs. So I'm handing over to Saraswati. I hope, team, it is okay to spend for 5 extra minutes beyond 5 o'clock. I would appreciate everybody's presence. So Saraswati and Bani, if you can engage and field some questions from the audience. It's been such a wonderful session. My sincere thanks to Manoj and Chandni both. Over to you, Saraswati and Bani, please.
Absolutely, Renu. Great session, Manoj, Chandni. Love to listen to both of your thoughts. There is one question on the chat. Maybe we can pick that up first. I had a couple of questions myself, but I'll go after this one. So I think this is a question from Hari. In media, there was a hype that automation would cut jobs, but we see that companies are on hiring spree and there is scarcity of skilled resources. your thoughts. So Manoj, I know you did touch upon this, but anything specific that you would want to add?
Sure. Okay, sure. I can take that. Thanks, Saraswati. It's a great question, by the way. So looking ahead, fast forwarding, the way the industry would evolve is the automation will be positioned as a productivity solutions, which will enhance the productivity of the individual versus cutting the jobs. Okay, that's number one. The future work will be looked at two different ways. One is called as a cognitive work, and second is called non-cognitive work. Cognitive work is the work that a human being is supposed to do, which requires reasoning, logical thoughts, and and obviously at times, a robots may not be able to do. So that will be delegated to the humans. And cognitive work, which is mundane and straightforward, rules driven, that can be delegated to the bots. So these bots will become assistants. That is the vision that most of the product companies like your Pathar have, will become as part of your desktop assistants, driving your productivity versus cutting jobs. So hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Manoj.
I can add to that a bit. And
sure, Chandni, go on.
Like I said, when you get a rapid demand for a certain area of development, and there is a rate of adoption, whichever way you like to call it. So when a new product, technology, or a concept comes into the market, there is a rate of adoption. We feel that we are at the brink of an inflection point as far as RPA is concerned. And the rate of adoption is escalating exponentially. So when that happens, the push that you need to give to that space requires a lot of manpower. And initially, that's the reason that there is going to be a scarcity in the beginning. Then there will be some mature thoughts when more and more people come in and they're able to handle, and then there will be efficiency. So I see next 4 to 5 years as a tarmac for which there will be scarcity. And that's where some great careers will be made. It is out there for you to grab it, get certified, pick it up, marry knowledges, your previous knowledge with the current knowledge, and connect the dots. So yes, media talks of the hype that here is an army of people armed with RPA that are going to remove the repetitive jobs. Yeah, so they talk about it in e-commerce, they talk about it in banking, but there are so many more jobs that get opened up, so many more concepts, and so much higher ability to service the same customer. Instead of answering the same question again and again, a great path eliminates, and you get an EVA at HDFC Bank, for example, as being sort of powered by a bot. It makes life easy for everybody, but that doesn't take away your banking experience when you actually need to bank, because at the end of it, there's a human, and then so more and more people are going to go into it to be able to handle mass consumption, which is happening in India. And one of the areas I do want to tell you, and we continuously forget, is the service that the government is going to provide. Most governments need to provide service to their citizens. And for now, in a country like India or say US or high density populations like China, it is very difficult to service such a large set of citizens. RPA technology is going to make it happen more and more. For instance, I don't see 5 years later you going to a booth to even vote, or a booth to get your Aadhaar card. Those things are going to be yesterday. I'm currently working on a tech which is being powered by RPA in one fintech company where credit cards will remain, but POS machines will go off. You will actually run the credit card on your phone at home in a POS machine. So phone becomes a POS machine. That's being powered by RPA in some sense. So there's going to be more and more of service orientation that's coming there. And I feel that the biggest is going to be linked to the government. So it will go to the lowest common denominator. And that is such an underserviced class, 65%, that we will need more and more people. So media is right, but they're forecasting 10, 12, 15 years ahead. For now, I think the reverse is going to happen. So I'm very bullish.
Very true, Chandni.
Have I been able to answer, add to what Manoj said? Or does it satisfy the question?
Definitely, yeah. Yep. Thank you so much for this lovely session, Manoj, Chandni, and thank you, Renu, for organizing this. Like it's so motivating and inspiring to hear, especially about the first which you mentioned. That was really inspiring. And I'm sure a lot of women here in this audience would have felt inspired too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I had a couple of questions, if I may go with that. So Chandni, as a board member, do you worry about governance in this space as we talk increasingly about AI and ML?
Yes, I do worry about that. In fact, actually, in some places, I run the risk management committees or advisory on risk. So there is an element of creating checks and balances. So if you start thinking about it right in the beginning, you would be able to create checks and balances in the systems and the procedures which allow which actually guide and run the organization. So whether it is, especially when we deal with fintechs and the banks or insurance companies or e-commerce companies, there is a lot of issue about governance. And there is more and more recognition that is coming in. But I feel that at some time, as we go along later, we will also be able to use technology to bring down the risks. You know, to be able to create systems that demystify the element of risk and minimize the risk or contain the risk or even assess the risk. So at all those points, technology will be able to bring in some answers. But for now, yes, we do think of hacking, we do think of stacks that may be developed to set off triggers and use of robotics to completely delineate a process within the company. For instance, e-commerce, you can set off chains that can trigger so many systems that that they could actually go all the way to delivery. And so we do think of some of those aspects. We think of financial fraud that can be triggered using AI matrices. Yes, we do think of all that. But it's not more difficult than, say, autonomous cars. So people who are doing those things, they are thinking about it more than what we are thinking about sitting on boards of fintech or banking companies. Right. I fear more in my healthcare initiatives. I have been involved with making 9 investments in healthcare across the world, 5 being in India. So the big trick is there, you know, because when human health and happiness and lives get involved, that's more tricky, yes. And there, in fact, we think that sooner or later, these processes can be brought in to contain risk. But for now, yes, the questions remain. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we are scared.
Thank you, Chandni. And I think, you know, sometimes being scared will prompt us to get to the solutions faster too. And, you know, I'm glad to hear that you are, you know, thinking on the right lines there. Manoj, one question that I had is, in terms of an RPA solution, how would you think about the maintenance cost of an RPA solution? Would it be significant in the overall scheme of the ROI, or would it be very insignificant?
No, I would not say insignificant. Definitely maintenance has to be there from a solution perspective. So, I mean, typically, you know, we park about 2 to 3 days worth of maintenance post deployment of the solutions, which is covered under our what I call as a hypercare in the agreed period of time. So if there are any support that is required beyond 3 to 4 days worth of changes, obviously there's a cost initiative there. So while it is not insignificant, but it has to be baked into as part of the overall cost, your development costs, deployment costs, and maintenance costs. Maintenance cost has to be added from the you know, cost of ownership perspective. Sure,
Manoj. Yeah, I don't see any other questions on the chat. I guess Ramya has figured out on the use cases of RPA application. I do see a note that she's got it. So any other questions, team? One last question maybe we can take. I know we are kind of over time. You know, hope Manoj and Chandni can take just one more question and we can close with that. Team, any other question?
Actually, it was so engaging that I really lost a sense of time, but it's been such a pleasure. Let's hear one or two more questions. I know people are probably waiting for their chance to ask questions. And anyway, you know, Manoj and Chandni, they're contacts I have provided, right? Please do feel free to reach out and connect on LinkedIn. This is an opportunity to network as well. Over to you again, Saraswati, see if there are one or two more questions from the audience.
I don't see any. Like you said, we can always reach out to ask any further questions. But thank you so much, Manoj. Thank you, Chandni. It was a great session, and I'm sure more and more folks will benefit from riding on this wave, like you rightly said.
Thank you, Saraswati. Thank you, Renu. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Me, a non-techie, but let's say I've had different roles in companies and led tech, but I'm not a techie, even though I am from a engineering and MBA background from Bitspilani, but most of my work has been in the field of leading technology, and we'll be very happy. And I think, Manoj, you must put in a system together where you accept returnee women's applications and help them go through certification.
Definitely, definitely. I already received one profile today.
Take a lead in that area.
Sure,
nudging him.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
So in
you.
fact,
now you will
I think Manoj had something to say. Let's.
No, Renu, I said if there are any training for your forum that is needed on the RPA front, we are certainly happy to support as part of the supporting your forum, primarily for the woman who wants to get back to RPA career. So certainly we can help from the RPASoft.
Thank you so much, Manoj. Definitely will leverage that.
Sure.
I want to go a step further, Manoj. You must create a meme or a outpost or a post which they can put out on their internal. I mean, you must be having a platform for women who code somewhere, or a website or a group, so that they can connect with your RPASoft's HR department, and they could funnel this, create a funnel for that.
Definitely. My HR team is already there. I will make sure that
I will discuss this. I'll discuss this with you. One of the thought Definitely. I have is,
sure, Renu.
You do get applicants and who have either taken a break or maybe are wanting a career transition, but are not, say, 50-60% ready that you can immediately take them. We can do a bridge program through you and certified by Women Who Code. Right.
Definitely.
And it's a good investment, no cost to the candidate. And then we kind of place them. And this is what we're talking about is specifically for women. Though we keep forum open for everyone to contribute, but this is a good we want to do for returning women. So
definitely,
in mind, we are happy to, look at it together.
Definitely. I'll be happy to work with you on that front, Renu.
So thank you so much, and really appreciate all the support in this growing community. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having us today. You guys have a great one.
I'm just stopping.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.